She sat in the back, scribbling quietly. Not part of the team, they assumed. But when questions rose about the mission, the commander pointed to her. She wrote the plan, he said. And suddenly, everyone was listening. Elena Rodriguez had been working as a security guard at the Veterans Affairs building for exactly 3 months. At 28, with long black hair usually pulled back in a practical ponytail and sharp dark eyes that seemed to notice everything while revealing nothing, she moved through her daily rounds with the kind of quiet professionalism that made her practically invisible to most people. She checked doors, monitored security cameras, and maintained the kind of low profile that characterized competent security personnel. To the staff and veterans who frequented the building, she was simply another uniformed guard doing her job, reliable, professional, and completely unremarkable. The veterans who used the facility barely acknowledged her presence beyond polite nods and brief greetings. She was security support, nothing more. They knew she was conscientious about her duties, thorough in her security checks, and dependable in maintaining building safety. But none of them had ever wondered about her background, her education, or what experiences had led her to work as a security guard in a veterans facility. Among the regular visitors to the VA building was Frank Morrison, a 67-year-old Vietnam veteran who came in twice a week for medical appointments and to use the facility's recreational programs. Frank was well known among the staff and other veterans as a friendly, talkative man who enjoyed sharing stories about his military service and connecting with younger veterans who were dealing with their own challenges. But Frank had one habit that puzzled some of the newer staff members. He always spent time at his assigned locker in the veterans' recreation area, and he was very particular about keeping it locked and private. When asked about it, Frank would just smile and say it contained personal items from his military service. Welcome to Silent Salute, where we discover that extraordinary stories often hide behind the most ordinary daily routines. Before we continue this incredible tale, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from today. And if you believe that the most remarkable people are often those who seem completely unremarkable, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. We're honored to share these remarkable stories with you. Elena's daily routine was predictable and professional. She arrived early, checked the overnight security logs, conducted her morning building inspection, and positioned herself at various monitoring stations throughout the day. Her work was thorough and competent, but she maintained the kind of professional distance that made her blend into the background of the busy veterans facility. The veterans and staff had developed their standard assumptions about her role and capabilities. She was professional security support who ensured the building remained safe and secure. Her security knowledge was adequate, her attention to detail was good, and her ability to handle routine security issues was reliable. But she was also remarkably quiet, speaking only when necessary for security purposes and never engaging in the casual conversations that typically developed between security personnel and the people they protected. The situation that would change everything began on a Thursday morning when Elena was conducting her routine security rounds. As she walked through the veterans' recreation area, she noticed that Frank Morrison was having trouble with his locker. The elderly veteran was struggling with the combination lock, clearly frustrated by his inability to open it. "Excuse me, Mr. Morrison," Elena said quietly. "Are you having trouble with your locker?" Frank looked up, somewhat embarrassed by his difficulty with the simple task. "Oh, hello, Elena. Yes, I'm having trouble with this combination. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be, and I can't seem to get the numbers right." Elena approached respectfully, understanding that veterans often had personal items in their lockers that held significant meaning. "Would you like me to help you with the combination? I can try to open it for you." Frank hesitated for a moment, clearly weighing his options. The locker contained items that were deeply personal to him, but his frustration with the lock was overcoming his natural desire for privacy. "If you wouldn't mind," Frank said finally. "The combination is November 25th, 68. That's the date I came home from Vietnam." Elena carefully worked the combination lock, her fingers moving with the kind of precision that comes from technical training. Within moments, she had the lock open and stepped back to give Frank privacy with his locker. "There you go, Mr. Morrison. Is there anything else I can help you with?" Frank smiled gratefully, but as he opened the locker door, something unexpected happened. The contents of the locker were revealed not just to Frank, but also to Elena, who was standing close enough to see inside. What Elena saw in Frank Morrison's locker was unlike anything she had expected. The locker was filled with military memorabilia, but not the typical collection of ribbons, certificates, and photographs that most veterans kept. Instead, Frank's locker contained an impressive array of combat medals, commendations, and what appeared to be captured enemy equipment from Vietnam. Elena could see multiple Bronze Stars, Silver Stars, and what appeared to be a Distinguished Service Cross. There were photographs of Frank in various military settings, including what looked like special operations missions. Most remarkably, there were several items that appeared to be captured enemy weapons and equipment: a North Vietnamese Army helmet, military insignia, and what looked like pieces of sophisticated communication equipment. Frank noticed Elena's attention to the contents of his locker, and for the first time since she'd known him, his demeanor changed from friendly veteran to something more serious and impressive. "Elena," Frank said quietly, "I hope you understand that these items are very personal to me. I don't usually show them to people." Elena's response was respectful and professional. "Of course, Mr. Morrison. I understand that military service creates memories and connections that are deeply personal." But Frank was looking at Elena with new attention, as if he was seeing something in her reaction that surprised him. "Elena, you seem to recognize some of these items. Do you have military experience?" Elena's answer was carefully neutral. "I have some familiarity with military equipment and procedures, Mr. Morrison." Frank was studying Elena more carefully now, noting something in her bearing and knowledge that suggested more than casual familiarity with military matters. "Elena, these aren't standard military medals and equipment. Some of these items came from very specialized missions. Your recognition of them suggests knowledge that goes beyond general military awareness." Elena realized that her reaction to Frank's collection had revealed more about her own background than she had intended to share. "Mr. Morrison, I've had some training that included military history and equipment identification." But Frank had spent decades around military personnel, and he recognized signs of professional military knowledge when he encountered them. "Elena, what kind of training included identification of special operations equipment and classified mission artifacts?" Elena seemed to be weighing how much information to share about her background and experience. "My previous work required understanding of military operations, equipment, and procedures, Mr. Morrison." Frank was becoming increasingly interested in Elena's background. "Elena, what kind of previous work required that level of military knowledge?" Before Elena could respond, their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Patricia Hayes, the facility's director, who approached with obvious urgency. "Elena, Frank, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation that requires immediate attention." Dr. Hayes explained that the facility had received notification of a potential security threat. Intelligence indicated that the building might be targeted for some kind of protest or demonstration that could pose risks to the veterans and staff. "Elena, I need you to review our security protocols and develop a plan for enhanced security measures until this threat assessment is resolved." Elena's response was immediate and professional. "Dr. Hayes, I'll review the current protocols and develop enhanced security recommendations within the hour." But Dr. Hayes was looking for more than routine security adjustments. "Elena, this threat assessment suggests potential for coordinated activity that could overwhelm our normal security capabilities. I need strategic security planning that accounts for multiple threat scenarios." Elena considered the request carefully, understanding that Dr. Hayes was asking for security planning that went beyond standard procedures. "Dr. Hayes, strategic security planning requires threat assessment, resource allocation, and tactical response planning. That's beyond typical security guard responsibilities." Dr. Hayes's response revealed more about Elena's background than Elena had intended to disclose. "Elena, your resume indicates experience in strategic planning and threat assessment. I'm asking you to apply that experience to protect our facility and the veterans we serve." Frank Morrison, who had been listening to the conversation with growing interest, stepped forward with obvious curiosity. "Elena, what kind of resume includes strategic planning and threat assessment experience?" Elena realized that her qualifications for the security position had revealed capabilities that exceeded what most people expected from security guards. "My educational background includes strategic studies and security analysis, Mr. Morrison." Dr. Hayes provided additional context. Elena has a master's degree in strategic studies from the Naval War College and extensive experience in threat assessment and security planning. The revelation hit Frank like a physical blow. The quiet security guard he'd been chatting with for months was actually someone with advanced military education and strategic planning expertise. "Elena," Frank said with obvious respect, "why are you working as a security guard when you have strategic planning qualifications?" Elena's answer reflected the complex career paths that many military-educated personnel follow. Sometimes the most valuable contribution you can make is providing direct service to those who need it most. Dr. Hayes was clearly eager to utilize Elena's advanced capabilities. "Elena, would you be willing to develop a comprehensive security plan for this threat situation?" Elena accepted the assignment, understanding that her strategic planning background could contribute to protecting the veterans and staff at the facility. Later that afternoon, Elena was working in the facility's conference room, developing threat assessments and security plans using skills that none of the veterans or staff had suspected she possessed. Her work involved complex analysis of potential threats, resource allocation, and tactical response procedures that demonstrated advanced military planning capabilities. As she worked, several veterans gathered in the conference room for their weekly planning meeting for upcoming facility events. Elena was seated at the back of the room, working quietly on her security plans while the veterans discussed their activities. The veterans were engaged in planning a major event to honor local military families, but they were struggling with logistical challenges and coordination issues that seemed overwhelming. "We want to make this event special," said Tom Wilson, a Gulf War veteran who was leading the planning committee. "But we're having trouble with the logistics. We need security coordination, traffic management, vendor organization, and emergency response planning." The other veterans nodded in agreement, recognizing that their event planning was becoming more complex than their volunteer capabilities could handle effectively. "Maybe we should scale back the event," suggested Maria Santos, an Iraq War veteran. "The logistics are getting too complicated for us to manage properly." Elena continued working on her security plans, but she was also listening to the veterans' discussion and understanding their challenges from a strategic planning perspective. As the veterans continued to struggle with their event planning, Dr. Hayes entered the conference room to check on Elena's progress with the security assessment. "Elena, how is the security planning progressing?" Elena looked up from her work, which had expanded to include detailed threat assessments, resource allocation charts, and tactical response procedures that covered multiple scenario contingencies. "Dr. Hayes, I've completed initial threat assessment and developed preliminary security protocols. The plan includes multiple response scenarios, resource requirements, and coordination procedures with local law enforcement." Dr. Hayes reviewed Elena's work, and her expression reflected growing amazement at the sophistication and comprehensiveness of the security plan. "Elena, this is incredible work. This level of strategic planning exceeds anything I expected. Where did you develop these capabilities?" The veterans who had been struggling with their event planning stopped their conversation to listen to Dr. Hayes' comments about Elena's work. Elena's response was characteristically modest. "Strategic planning requires systematic analysis of objectives, constraints, and resources. The principles apply to security planning just as they apply to other complex operations." Tom Wilson, who had been listening to the conversation, approached Elena with obvious interest. "Elena, excuse me for interrupting, but I couldn't help overhearing Dr. Hayes' comments about your strategic planning work. We're struggling with planning a major event, and it sounds like you might have expertise that could help us." Elena looked at the veterans' planning materials, quickly assessing their challenges from a strategic perspective. "What specific aspects of event planning are creating difficulties?" Wilson explained their challenges with logistics, security, coordination, and resource management. As he spoke, Elena was mentally organizing their problems using strategic planning methodologies. "These challenges are manageable with proper systematic planning," Elena said. "Event management requires the same strategic approach as security planning: objective definition, resource analysis, risk assessment, and coordination protocols." Wilson was clearly impressed by Elena's analytical approach. "Elena, would you be willing to help us develop a proper plan for this event?" Elena considered the request, understanding that her strategic planning background could significantly enhance the veterans' event planning capabilities. I'd be happy to help develop a comprehensive plan that addresses your logistical and coordination challenges. Over the next hour, Elena worked with the veterans to transform their disorganized event ideas into a sophisticated operational plan. Her strategic planning expertise enabled her to identify resource requirements, develop coordination protocols, establish timeline sequences, and create contingency procedures that addressed all their concerns. Elena, Maria Santos said as they reviewed the completed plan, "This is incredible. You've solved problems that we've been struggling with for weeks." Frank Morrison, who had joined the planning session, was watching Elena's work with obvious recognition of advanced military planning capabilities. "Elena, this level of strategic planning reflects serious military education and experience. What's your actual background?" Elena realized that her planning work had revealed capabilities that clearly exceeded what anyone expected from a security guard. "I have educational background in strategic studies and experience in operational planning." Dr. Hayes, who had been observing Elena's work with the veterans, decided to provide fuller context about Elena's qualifications. Elena has a master's degree in strategic studies from the Naval War College, where she graduated first in her class. She also has experience as a strategic planner for military operations. The veterans were stunned by this revelation. Their quiet security guard was actually one of the most highly trained strategic planners in the military education system. Wilson asked the question everyone was thinking. "Elena, if you have that level of education and experience, why are you working as a security guard?" Elena's answer reflected deliberate career choices that prioritized service over recognition. "I wanted to work directly with veterans, providing practical support for the people who served our country. Strategic planning is valuable, but direct service to veterans is more meaningful to me." Frank Morrison stepped forward with obvious respect and understanding. "Elena, you chose to serve veterans by working as a security guard, even though your qualifications could have led to much more prestigious positions." Elena nodded. "Mr. Morrison, prestigious positions don't always provide opportunities to make meaningful differences in people's lives. Working here allows me to contribute directly to veteran welfare." The planning session continued, but now with complete recognition of Elena's advanced capabilities. Her strategic planning expertise transformed not just their event planning, but their understanding of systematic approaches to complex challenges. "Elena," Dr. Hayes said as the session concluded, "I think it's time we discussed expanding your role here beyond security duties. Your strategic planning capabilities could enhance many aspects of our veteran services." Elena accepted the expanded role, understanding that her strategic planning background could contribute to veteran services in ways that went far beyond security functions. Over the following weeks, Elena transitioned from her cover role as routine security guard to active participation in facility planning and veteran service development. Her strategic planning expertise enhanced everything from event coordination to service delivery optimization. "What Elena brings to our facility," Dr. Hayes explained to the staff, "is the ability to approach complex challenges systematically, to develop comprehensive solutions that address multiple objectives simultaneously." Elena worked with veterans and staff to develop strategic plans for facility improvements, service enhancement, and community outreach that reflected advanced military planning methodologies applied to veteran support. "The strategic planning principles I learned at the Naval War College," Elena explained to the veterans, "apply just as effectively to veteran services as they do to military operations. The key is systematic analysis of objectives, resources, and optimal approaches to mission accomplishment." Frank Morrison, whose locker full of war trophies had initiated Elena's revelation of strategic planning capabilities, became one of her closest collaborators in developing veteran service programs. "Elena," Frank told other veterans, "represents the best of military education applied to veteran service. Her willingness to use advanced capabilities for direct veteran support demonstrates the true meaning of continued service." The event that Elena helped plan became a model for veteran community outreach, demonstrating how strategic planning expertise could enhance veteran services and community connections. Elena's strategic plans were eventually adopted by other VA facilities, establishing new standards for systematic approaches to veteran service delivery and community engagement. But perhaps Elena's greatest contribution was demonstrating that the most valuable service often comes from applying advanced capabilities to direct support for those who need it most, rather than pursuing prestigious positions that provide less meaningful impact. The story of Elena Rodriguez became legendary at the VA facility, shared with new staff and volunteers as an example of how extraordinary capabilities often hide behind ordinary job titles, and how the most meaningful service often involves choosing to work directly with those who benefit most from our skills. The most important lesson we learned from Elena, Dr. Hayes would tell visitors, is that true professional success isn't measured by prestigious titles or recognition. It's measured by the positive impact we have on the lives of people who depend on our service. Frank Morrison's locker full of war trophies and Elena's revelation of strategic planning expertise became connected stories about how extraordinary capabilities and meaningful service often remain hidden until circumstances reveal the remarkable individuals who choose to serve quietly among us. Elena and Frank, the veterans would say, represent different generations of service, but they share understanding that the most important contributions are often those that directly support the people who need it most. Years later, when Elena had been promoted to Strategic Planning Director for Veteran Services, her legacy lived on in the enhanced programs she developed and in the understanding that true leadership often begins with choosing to serve wherever service is most needed. Her story reminded everyone that extraordinary capabilities often hide behind ordinary job titles, and that the most valuable people are often those who choose to apply their advanced skills to direct service rather than pursuing recognition or prestigious positions. Elena's willingness to work as a security guard while possessing advanced strategic planning qualifications demonstrated that true professional fulfillment comes from meaningful service, not from titles or recognition. Years later, when Elena had been promoted to Strategic Planning Director for Veteran Services, her legacy lived on in the enhanced programs she developed and in the understanding that true leadership often begins with choosing to serve wherever service is most needed. 6 months after Elena's promotion to Strategic Planning Director, the VA facility received notification that it had been selected to host a major conference on innovative veteran services. Representatives from VA facilities across the country would attend to learn about best practices and new approaches to veteran care. Elena, Dr. Hayes said during their planning meeting, this conference represents an opportunity to showcase the strategic planning methodologies you've developed here. Your work has attracted attention throughout the VA system. Elena was honored by the recognition, but she was also concerned about maintaining the personal connections with veterans that had motivated her transition from security work to strategic planning. Dr. Hayes, I'm committed to supporting the conference, but I want to ensure that our focus remains on direct service to veterans rather than recognition for our programs. Dr. Hayes understood Elena's priorities. Elena, the conference will actually enhance our veteran services by sharing your methodologies with other facilities. Your strategic planning innovations could improve veteran care nationwide. Elena accepted the conference leadership role, understanding that sharing her planning methodologies could multiply their impact on veteran services across the country. The conference planning process became an opportunity to demonstrate Elena's strategic planning capabilities on a much larger scale. She developed comprehensive logistics plans, coordination protocols, and resource management systems that impressed visiting VA officials and strategic planning professionals. Frank Morrison, now 68 and increasingly recognized as one of the facility's most decorated veterans, was selected to speak at the conference about the evolution of veteran services and the importance of strategic planning in enhancing care quality. Elena, Frank told the conference attendees, represents the best of military strategic education applied to veteran service. Her work demonstrates how advanced planning capabilities can dramatically improve the lives of veterans when applied with genuine commitment to service. Frank's presentation included displays from his war trophy collection, but now these artifacts served a different purpose. They demonstrated the historical continuity of service and sacrifice that connected veterans across different eras and conflicts. These items, Frank explained to the conference attendees, represent the experiences that Elena's strategic planning now works to address. Modern veteran services must understand the full scope of military experience to provide effective support. Elena's conference presentation focused on systematic approaches to veteran service delivery, demonstrating how strategic planning methodologies could optimize resource allocation, enhance service coordination, and improve outcomes for veterans dealing with complex challenges. Strategic planning in veteran services, Elena explained, requires understanding that every veteran's experience is unique, but that systematic approaches can ensure comprehensive support that addresses individual needs within efficient organizational frameworks. Her presentation included detailed case studies showing how strategic planning had enhanced services at their facility, with measurable improvements in veteran satisfaction, service efficiency, and community engagement. The conference attendees were impressed not just by Elena's strategic planning expertise, but by her obvious commitment to veteran welfare and her deep understanding of how advanced planning capabilities could enhance rather than replace personal service connections. Dr. Sarah Chun, Strategic Planning Director for the Department of Veterans Affairs, approached Elena after her presentation with obvious interest in her methodologies. Elena, your approach to strategic planning in veteran services represents exactly the kind of innovation we need throughout the VA system. Would you be interested in developing a national training program for strategic planning in veteran services? Elena considered the offer carefully, understanding that it would significantly expand her impact on veteran services, but might also distance her from the direct service connections that motivated her work. Dr. Chun, I'm interested in sharing these methodologies more widely, but I want to ensure that any national program maintains focus on enhancing direct service to veterans rather than creating bureaucratic complexity. Dr. Chun was impressed by Elena's priorities. Elena, that's exactly the perspective we need in developing national programs. Your commitment to direct service combined with strategic planning expertise could revolutionize how we approach veteran care. Elena accepted the opportunity to develop national training programs, but with the condition that she could maintain her position at the local facility and continue direct involvement with veteran services. The national training program that Elena developed became a model for integrating strategic planning with veteran services throughout the VA system. Her methodologies were adopted by facilities nationwide, creating measurable improvements in service efficiency and veteran satisfaction. But Elena insisted that every training program include direct involvement with veterans, ensuring that strategic planning always remained connected to the human experiences it was designed to enhance. Strategic planning without direct service connection, Elena would tell training participants, becomes abstract bureaucracy that loses sight of its fundamental purpose, improving the lives of people who served our country. Frank Morrison became a regular participant in Elena's national training programs, sharing his perspective as a decorated veteran and longtime facility user. His war trophy collection became educational tools that helped strategic planners understand the historical context and personal significance of veteran experiences. Elena's planning works, Frank would tell training participants, because she understands that every system, every process, every procedure exists to serve real people with real needs and real stories. The collaboration between Elena's strategic planning expertise and Frank's veteran experience created training programs that enhanced both technical competence and personal commitment among VA staff nationwide. Elena's methodologies were eventually published as official VA guidance for strategic planning in veteran services, establishing new standards for systematic approaches to veteran care that maintain focus on individual needs and personal service. 3 years after the national conference, Elena received notification that she had been selected to receive the VA's highest civilian honor for innovation in veteran services. The award recognized her strategic planning contributions and their impact on veteran care nationwide. Elena, Dr. Hayes told her during the award notification, your work has enhanced veteran services for thousands of people across the country. The strategic planning methodologies you developed here have become standard practice throughout the VA system. Elena was honored by the recognition, but she was most satisfied by the knowledge that her work had enabled other facilities to provide better service to veterans dealing with complex challenges. Frank Morrison was selected to present Elena's award at the national ceremony, representing not just their facility, but the broader veteran community that had benefited from her strategic planning innovations. Elena Rodriguez, Frank said during the award ceremony, chose to serve veterans by applying her advanced education to direct service rather than pursuing prestigious positions. Her example demonstrates that the most meaningful professional achievements come from using our capabilities to enhance the lives of others. The award ceremony concluded with Elena's acceptance speech, which focused on the importance of combining advanced capabilities with genuine commitment to service. This recognition, Elena told the assembled VA officials and veteran service organizations, belongs not just to me, but to every person who chooses to apply their skills and education to serving those who served our country. The most fulfilling careers are those that prioritize meaningful impact over personal recognition. Elena's speech became widely quoted throughout the veteran service community, establishing her as a spokesperson for the principle that professional fulfillment comes from service rather than advancement. Following the award ceremony, Elena was offered several high-level positions within the VA central office, but she chose to remain at her original facility, continuing to combine strategic planning leadership with direct veteran service. My most satisfying work, Elena told colleagues, happens when I can use strategic planning to solve specific problems for individual veterans. National recognition is meaningful, but personal impact is what motivates me. Frank Morrison, now recognized as one of the most decorated veterans in the facility's history, continued his collaboration with Elena, helping to train new staff members about the importance of understanding veteran experiences and maintaining personal connections while implementing systematic improvements. Elena and I, Frank would tell new employees, represent different aspects of service, but we share understanding that the most important work is that which directly benefits the people who depend on our capabilities. Elena's strategic planning programs continued to evolve, incorporating new methodologies and technologies while maintaining focus on personal service and individual veteran needs. Her work became a model for how advanced capabilities could enhance rather than replace human connections in veteran services. The facility that had originally employed Elena as a security guard became a national training center for strategic planning in veteran services, hosting educational programs that attracted participants from throughout the military and veteran service communities. What we've learned here, Dr. Hayes would tell visiting delegations, is that extraordinary capabilities often hide behind ordinary job titles, and that the most valuable employees are often those who choose meaningful service over prestigious recognition. Elena's transition from security guard to nationally recognized strategic planning expert became a case study used in military and public service education programs, demonstrating how individual commitment to service could create widespread positive impact. But Elena's most important legacy was not her national recognition or her strategic planning innovations. It was her demonstration that true professional fulfillment comes from applying advanced capabilities to directly serve those who need support most. Frank Morrison's War Trophy Collection, which had initially revealed Elena's advanced military knowledge, became a permanent display at the facility, representing the historical continuity of service and the ongoing importance of supporting veterans across all eras of military service. Frank's trophies and Elena's planning, facility staff would explain to visitors, represent different aspects of the same commitment: the dedication to serve others regardless of personal recognition or advancement opportunities. 10 years after Elena's initial employment as a security guard, she had become one of the most influential strategic planners in the veteran services community, but she continued to work directly with individual veterans, maintaining the personal connections that had motivated her career choices. Strategic planning, Elena would tell her colleagues, is only valuable when it enhances human connections rather than replacing them. The most sophisticated systems are meaningless if they don't improve the lives of real people. Her example influenced a generation of public service professionals who learned that advanced education and capabilities could be most meaningfully applied through direct service rather than administrative advancement. Elena's story became legendary throughout the veteran service community, shared as an example of how extraordinary qualifications could be most effectively utilized through commitment to service rather than pursuit of recognition. Frank Morrison, whose locker full of war trophies had initiated the revelation of Elena's capabilities, continued to serve as a mentor and advisor, representing the veteran perspective in Elena's strategic planning development and ensuring that all innovations remained focused on enhancing veteran welfare. Elena taught us, Frank would say, that the most important qualifications are often hidden behind the most ordinary job titles, and that the most valuable people are those who choose to serve wherever service is most needed. Elena's legacy lived on in the enhanced veteran services she had developed, in the national training programs she had created, and in the understanding that true professional success is measured by positive impact rather than personal advancement. Her willingness to work as a security guard while possessing advanced strategic planning qualifications demonstrated that meaningful careers are built on service rather than recognition, and that the most fulfilling work is often that which directly benefits those who depend on our capabilities. The story of Elena Rodriguez and Frank Morrison became a powerful reminder that extraordinary capabilities and heroic legacies often walk among us unrecognized, choosing to serve quietly until circumstances reveal the remarkable individuals whose greatest achievements are measured not by what they accomplish for themselves, but by what they enable others to achieve. This story was brought to you by Silent Salute. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever discovered that someone you knew in an ordinary job actually possessed extraordinary qualifications or capabilities that they chose not to advertise? Have you encountered people who deliberately chose meaningful service over prestigious positions? Tell us in the comments about the moments when you realized someone had chosen service over recognition, when you discovered that ordinary job titles sometimes hide extraordinary capabilities. And if you believe that the most fulfilling careers are often those that prioritize meaningful impact over prestigious recognition, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Every story reminds us that extraordinary abilities often hide behind ordinary appearances, and that the most valuable people are often those who choose to serve wherever service matters most. We'll see you in the next story, where we'll discover another incredible tale of hidden capabilities and deliberate service.